Hey, it's everybody's favorite anime review boy, Dunekun, back at it again with the only good opinions. I'm not fucking around today, let's just get right into it. Because I'm a pervert who likes getting punished, I decided to make a cursory check of the users submitted reviews of the Misfit at Demon Academy on my anime list. Now, I don't know what kind of deformed troglodyte would make a review on my anime list instead of, I don't know, shooting themselves, but maybe I'm the bigger fool for taking the time to read them. I'd like to preface all this by saying I enjoyed the show a lot, and while there are valid criticisms to be made, you won't find any on this website. Heck, even the positive reviews are wrong. There really should be systems in place to prevent this. Like, I don't know, maybe make a requirement that your IQ has to be at least twice your age before you can post. I'll start talking about the show now. The Misfit of Demon King Academy is about an autistic girl who becomes friends with Jesus. I'm bad at explaining things, let's just try to work backwards. A common complaint I saw in the My Anime List reviews was that this was just another typical fantasy school comedy harem isekai, and sure, some of those tags apply to the show, but I'm starting to think that people are relying on tags too much and needlessly filling in the blanks in their minds. Just because the Misfit of Demon King Academy takes place in a fantasy world with a school does not mean it's similar to any other show with those tags, and to think otherwise is just reductive. Granted, if you watch a lot of anime, then that assumption is a bit less reductive, but I think you should go into these things with an open mind. Or maybe just watch less anime. What does generic fantasy show even mean at this point? That it has girls and a main guy? That it has magic? Is Lord of the Rings a generic Western fantasy story? I mean, it has defined the genre. How could it not be generic? And unless you want to say the Lord of the Rings actually sucks shit, we as a society have to understand that using generic tropes is not an inherently bad thing. Believe it or not, sometimes they can actually be used to enhance a narrative. Huh? What? Impossible. No, it's true. Hear me out. You see, kids, the Misfit of Demon King Academy may be set in a fairly standard medieval fantasy world, but IDK, maybe that's a good thing, teehee. A general audience doesn't need general concepts like demons and gods in this type of setting explained, so if the show took the time out to over-explain them, then it would be boring. When you watch fucking Lucky Star, it doesn't start, Japan is an island country of East Asia in the Northwest Pacific. It borders the Sea of... No, that'd be dumb. The story is not about the world, so dwelling on the small details is unnecessary. One of the great things about the Misfit of Demon King Academy is how fast it moves. First episode starts, there's a Demon King, he's getting reincarnated. Who's it gonna be? My guess is the sadist with godlike powers. I'm putting my money on that guy. Although it would have been pretty funny if it was the other guy getting his ass kicked who was the Demon King. And although that would have been an interesting twist on the formula, that's clearly not what Misfit is going for. Twisting, that is. It is interesting. Whatever. I don't see how this show could be considered a typical fantasy anime when it doesn't seem to have any interest in being ironic, metatextual, or even funny. I was so confused when people were calling this a comedy show. There's like 2 jokes and they're intentionally bad. Not that you couldn't laugh at it, sure, the characters have their lighthearted moments, but they're more subtle. You wouldn't find the over-the-top reactions in most of the show's runtime. The only exception to this would be Voldegarde's parents, who are just the bee's knees. I don't know how these two appeal to me on such an instinctual level. They're just nice. I know Clannad hasn't been relevant in like a decade, but Nagisa's parents in that show make for an apt comparison because they're also pretty goofy. But what makes Akio and Sanai different from the parents in Misfit is that the latter are fucking retarded. Like, they're literally brain dead, and I don't know how they survive on a day-to-day basis. You might think a pedantic asshole like me would hate these characters because, oh, they're not deep, they don't have real personalities or something like that, but you'd be wrong. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my videos, it's that you should become a patron at patreon.com/Dunekun. And if there's a second thing, it's that there are no objective good or bad creative decisions that a piece of media can make. It's all contextual. I think Voldegarde's parents work as silly comic relief because they're in direct contrast to people getting literally tortured to death and then resurrected and then tortured some more. Their innocent and pure-hearted natures also add another layer to Voldegarde's character even before they get a full scene. In the first episode, when they're still getting introduced to Voldegarde, it's jarring to go from, this is the story of an evil warlord, to seeing the same warlord getting encouraged by his loving parents. It's the good kind of confusing, like Futanari. Just like how in the same scene he picks up Misha's letter and then almost kills a guy. At this point, we are still supposed to be wondering what Voldegarde's whole deal is, and the show is keeping the audience at arm's length while still having things happen. Some might call this good writing. I feel like I have to qualify some things. When I say a show is good, I mean good. On the scale of compliments, good is only slightly on the positive side. It's like a 7. Not a My Anime List 7, a Dunekun 7. Which is like a My Anime List 8.5. The conversion isn't exact, but you get the idea. I just don't think this show should have a 7.4. That's all I'm saying. It should be like a 7.8. Fuck, God of High School is almost at an 8 and will probably reach that by the end of the season. That's annoying. Not because God of High School is trash, but because the Misfit of Demon King Academy is just crafted better. It's not mind-blowing, but at the very least it respects the intelligence of the audience. A perfect example of this is with these spells called Zex. The first time we see these is in the first episode, when Voltigad is fighting that one guy who gets his ass kicked by Voltigad. Coincidentally, this is where he gets that name. Voltigad says, "Hey, I bet I can beat you without using mind control," and the other guy says, "I want a contract," and that's the only explanation the entire series gives on Zex. I know this might seem like a small thing to a lot of people, but I want you to just remember all the times an anime stopped everything just so some character can go into inconsequential detail about how some aspect of the world works instead of just letting the audience use context clues and a funny little thing called their brain to figure it out. But that might be too much to expect of people. I mean, they were seriously calling Misfit a harem comedy. Guys, just because a show has a positive female to male ratio, that doesn't make it a harem show. Female characters can just exist. That's like saying a show with more than 2 black characters is a black show. Mislabeling anime as harems is the flip side of complaining about forced diversity. And sure, the inclusion of multiple cute anime girls as the supporting cast to a male character is metatextually similar to the appeal of a harem show, but that's only because they want to make money. Of course they're gonna include cute anime girls. Nobody would watch it if they didn't. And besides, anime girls can't help being cute. You know, except the ones you like, of course.
Hannibal busted through!
You know, it's really easy to write an anime that makes sense. Whenever you write something on a page, you just have to think, does this have a reasonable explanation? For example, if Voltigad is using the same name in this new reincarnated form, why doesn't anyone notice this? Oh, it's because it's been 2,000 years and the original name might have been lost to time. It's like if Jesus came back and was like, "What's up guys, it's me, Josh." Or how about the exact moment I was wondering how Voltigad spent like 15 years of his life growing up with these powers, the show gives you an answer. But I would not be going on about how good this show is if basic competency was the only thing it had going for it. It also has racism. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and man, I made a sexism joke last week. I don't know if I can get away with being pro-racism, so I guess I just have to go back to talking about the show. The Misfit of Demon Academy takes the far-left communist position that not only is racism bad, but classism too. Or rather, any sort of pretensions or overinflated egos in general. When you're the strongest being in the world, schoolyard bullies trying to flex on you are just patronizing. As a result, Voltigad's role in the show's first arc is entirely supportive. Since he has no weaknesses or emotional struggles to go through himself, the onus then falls on the 2 sisters, Misha and Sasha Nekvam, to provide the conflict. This is your minor spoiler warning. I'm going to talk about stuff that happens in the first 4 episodes, but I recommend that you just go and watch it yourself. But you know, I can't make you or anything. Remember the guy who gets his ass kicked that I mentioned earlier? Well, he and his brother show up for another helping in the second half of the first episode, and it goes about as well as you'd expect. There was no way I could have known this at the time, but this encounter actually functions as a setup to a myriad of upcoming points that I'm about to make right now. The first is that it cements a fuller picture of Voltigad's personality. When the 2 first fought, the main takeaway is that Voltigad is an up-his-own-ass sadist, and although we have a pleasant scene where we meet his family, this is counterbalanced by his own admission that every horrible thing people called him as a Demon King was true. And if you were a dumb idiot, you would interpret this as the character being edgy. Hold on. What? Okay, sorry, my dad says I'm being too mean. What I meant to say was that if you stopped watching the show immediately after that scene, you might be justified in thinking that Voltigad is the typical edgy main character, and you'd only be a dumb idiot in hindsight, there. Because if you had kept watching, you'd see Voltigad display a level of maturity that's atypical for your average anime protagonist. By the end of the first episode, it's quite clear that Voltigad can do basically anything he wants and nobody can stop him. So that begs the question. Why doesn't he just kill these 2 racist, classist assholes who have literally no redeeming qualities shown? They attacked him and Misha for no reason and even brought backup so they could kill him. I'd say Volgard would be more than justified in retaliating with lethal force. I mean, he is a demon king. He's killed plenty of people and gods, so why do these two shitbags even matter? Even Misha is nonplussed at this turn of events. She is okay with murder. There would be no negative consequences. The world might even be a better place if these guys died, and there's certainly no benefit to keeping them alive, so why not? Well, as we soon learn at the beginning of episode 2, Volgard gave his life to end the conflict between demons and humans. Disillusioned from a life of war and conquering, he allies with his would-be assassins to transform the world into a more peaceful place. So by the time the events of the anime begin, he already had his character arc, which makes sense. He's a full-grown ass man. He knows what he's about. Killing these guys, however justified it may be, is not a constructive solution. Instead, he opts to give the two brothers a friendly reminder that before any of their titles and riches, they're still family and should be closer. It's actually very heartwarming, and it serves as a precursor for the next 2 episodes, which also feature tension between siblings. I must confess, this review will unfortunately be colored by my personal life. I know you come to the Dunekun channel for the cold hard facts about anime, but I'm just a sucker for anything with sisters in them. I actually have a little sister of my own, and used to get along real great, but when I try to show her some of my favorite A1 picture shows, she called me a baka, and I'm not allowed to legally say anything more than that, but I make anime reviews now. You can fill in the blanks. So the younger sister is Misha, and she belongs to a degenerate race, while the older sister is Sasha, and she's a powerful pureblood demon and also a huge bitch. She openly insults her sister and Volgard for, just because, and then Volgard breaks her back and makes her humble like the Iron Sheik. Yeah, I can make wrestling references in anime reviews if I want. What are you gonna do about it?
I beat the fuck out of you.
To make a short story shorter, Volgard throws a castle at her, and then Sasha joins the team. And then they lived happily ever. Episodes 3 and 4 of this show are so satisfying that me just explaining to you what happens would be a waste. I'm not even gonna show you footage that may clue you into what I'm talking about. No need, bruh. Put up the spinning monkey footage. All I'll say is that it's very satisfying when a show reincorporates elements that you did not know were gonna be relevant later. And now that that's over, we can talk about the stupidest complaint about this show I've read. The main character is too overpowered. Like I said earlier in this video, an aspect of a character, like they're overpowered or they're annoying, is not inherently good or bad. You'd have to be some kind of knuckle-dragging Oh no, I'm so sorry, I did not mean to say knuckle-dragging, it's just a figure of speech. Oh, I gotta end this video, so please follow me on Twitter for monkey updates, subscribe to the channel for more monkey videos, please donate to my Patreon to support my monkey business, and remember, chimp, don't simp.